Boxing Truth here. I wanted to talk about the two undercard fights that took place on the GGG Jacobs card this past Saturday at the Garden, which was Roman Gonzalez versus the Thailand guy Secret Cat and Carlos Quadras against David Carmona. Now, there was one highway robbery that took place on the Golovkin card, and it wasn't Golovkin Jacobs. That was not a robbery. And it wasn't Roman Gonzalez versus the Thailand guy. That fight wasn't a robbery. The one true robbery that took place on the Golovkin card was the Carlos Quadras David Carmona fight. Now I'm gonna talk about this fight first, then I'll get to the Gonzalez fight. I'm gonna talk about both fights in this video. Now the Carlos Quadras David Carmona fight. What took place in that fight was downright criminal. It had to be one of the worst fucking decisions, highway robberies I've ever seen in the sport of boxing. And I've been watching boxing for a long time. I've seen some really bad decisions during my time watching the sport of boxing. But what took place between Quadras and Carmona, it's in my top 3 probably. Worst decisions ever that I've seen. I mean, it was a highway robbery what took place in the fight. I watched the fight last night, and I tuned into the card, the Golovkin Jacobs card, around the 6th round of this fight. So I didn't get to see the whole fight. So I finally watched the whole fight, and I cannot believe what I just saw. I mean, the judges simply just took away a well-earned victory for David Carmona, and it wasn't even close. It wasn't even competitive. I mean, Quadras got fucking schooled by David Carmona. He couldn't do shit to Carmona the entire fight. Carmona fought very smart. He had a good strategy. He kept to it, and he was able to execute his game plan throughout the whole fight. He was able to make Quadras fight his fight, make him fight at his distance, at his range. What Carmona did was smart, and he really showed entertaining boxing. He really boxed the right way. He was in the pocket. He was within punching range, and he was boxing circles around Quadras. Now that's how you fucking box somebody. Not only was he boxing circles, he was in punching range, would constantly pop Quadras with the jab at a set distance that he wanted to be in. And Quadras, he would have to reach for Carmona, and he would constantly get countered. Carmona would either step back, or he would encounter him with hooks or overhand rights, body shots, or he would stick him with the jab. Now that's how you fucking box somebody. You don't fucking move around the ring and just avoid someone's power like Jacobs did, and not really land many significant blows. What Carmona did, now that's fucking boxing. It was a good display of distance, range, and boxing from the outside, but within punching range as well. And Quadras, he just couldn't do shit. He was not effective at all. He couldn't really close the distance. He couldn't reach for Carmona without getting countered or constantly getting tagged with incoming fire from Carmona. I mean, Carmona was just outboxing the shit out of Quadras the whole fight. I thought he clearly won the first 5 rounds with good boxing from the outside, in range, constantly countering Quadras, getting the better of him in the exchanges. And Quadras was just not effective. He couldn't do shit to him, couldn't close the distance, couldn't really land any significant effective punches throughout the whole fight. And then not only was Carmona outboxing him, beating him from the outside, beating him with range and timing and counter punching, and constantly circling Quadras, making Quadras make mistakes and making Quadras reach so he could counter. But as the round progressed, by the 7th round, Carmona wasn't just outboxing and getting the better of Quadras. He started putting a beating on Quadras. He started beating the shit out of him. Started hurting him. Started hurting him to the body. Quadras got hurt a few times in the fight. got lit up in the last 3 rounds. I only gave Quadras one round in that fight. It was the sixth, and maybe it was because I felt bad for him because he did better in that round to the other rounds that preceded that, and it only got worse for Quadras. He wasn't just getting outboxed; he was getting outboxed in the first 5 rounds, getting out landed, getting outskilled, and then he started getting his ass whooped. Then Carmona turned it up, started walking Quadras down, and started whipping his ass. And I scored it 9 rounds to 1 in favor of Carmona. And when the bell rang to end the fight, it was only a 10-round fight. You could automatically see just by the body language of the two fighters who won the fight and who didn't. When the bell rang, Carmona took a bow to the crowd on all 4 sides of the ring, pretty much saying, "Yeah, I got this. You know I won the fucking fight. I know I won the fight." And Quadras, he went to his corner with his head down, pretty much knowing he fucking lost the fight. He got his ass whooped. He got schooled, outboxed, outskilled, and got whooped in the last 3 rounds. And somehow, these fucking 3 judges, 2 of them gave Quadras 7 rounds. Downright criminal what happened, but nobody's going to give a shit because it wasn't a big fight. It wasn't, it wasn't the main headliner, but that was the one robbery that truly took place on the Golovkin card, and it was David Carmona just pretty much just getting slapped in the face by the boxing politics. It's funny how Quadras got looked after by the boxing politics with this highway robbery, but yet somehow Gonzalez managed to lose a close decision. Now, I'm going to get to that fight right now against Gonzalez Secret Cat. Now, Gonzalez Secret Cat, it was a great fight. Entertaining fight, probably most like it was the fight of the night. It was there was drama, there was a lot of combinations, firepower. That was the type of fight Golovkin Jacobs should have been. Instead, Golovkin Jacobs was a tactical, strategic boxing match. This was a fucking war between Gonzalez and Secret Cat. Now, all 3 judges had it a very close fight. One judge scored the draw. 2 other judges scored it in the favor of Secret Cat by 2 points. And after watching the fight again, because I had to watch it in its entirety, I didn't get to watch the whole fight when I first tuned in to the Golovkin Jacobs card when it was live. But I finally watched the fight, and the fight wasn't a robbery. Roman Gonzalez did not get robbed, as much as it pains me to say it, because he's my Nicaraguan brother, But I'm not going to be biased just because he's my Nicaraguan brother. He did not do enough, in my opinion, to fully get his hand raised. But I think he at least earned a draw. From what I saw, I scored the fight 7 rounds to 5 for Secret Cat. But there was one round in that fight. It wasn't an easy fight to score. A lot of rounds were close. But there was one round that really made the difference, and it was the 4th round. That round was extremely hard to score. And I gave it to Secret Cat because he put in a lot of work. He put in a lot of pressure, and he really threw a lot of punches and landed a lot of shots, landed a lot of power shots, putting pressure on Roman. And Roman, he also landed a lot of punches in that round, and he lit up Secret Cat with a combination in the last 10 seconds. So he might have stole that round. 2 of the 3 judges gave that round to Roman, but one judge gave it to Secret Cat, so that pretty much signifies a swing round. I gave it to Secret Cat. I just couldn't ignore the body of work he did in that round and just base it on Gonzalez's flurry in the last 10 seconds to give him that round. I just couldn't ignore the body of work that he did throughout the whole round. So I gave it to Secret Cat. But there was rounds that the judges and I disagreed on. 3 judges gave the 10th round to Secret Cat. I gave it to Roman Gonzalez. One judge gave the 2nd round to Roman Gonzalez. I gave it to Secret Cat. He was just too aggressive, was too active, and he was landing the heavier thudding blows in that round. The thing about Gonzalez, he just fell off in the second half of the fight. He really could have won this fight. I just don't know what happened after the 6th round. He really lit up Secret Cat in the 5th and 6th rounds. Drew a lot of combinations, was pivoting, was beating the shit out of him. and hurt Sigurd Cat to the body. As Sigurd Cat started to gas in the 5th round after throwing so many goddamn punches and power shots. But somehow, after Roman Gonzalez whooped Sigurd Cat's ass in the 6th round, Sigurd Cat just caught a second win, and he couldn't be stopped. His will couldn't be denied. His will couldn't be denied. He never wilted. He never faltered, even after Gonzalez was litting him up in combinations in the 5th and 6th round. Sigurd Cat kept pressing forward, he kept trying to win, and he just did more in the latter part of the fight. He won 3 straight rounds on my card, the 7th, 8th, and 9th rounds. I don't know what the fuck happened with Chocolatito in those rounds. He just wasn't active enough, wasn't aggressive enough, just wasn't doing enough in those rounds to really take him on my card. But then he finally came back in the 10th, but then did the same thing in the 11th. He just gave that round away. Just didn't do anything in that round. As Sigurd Cat was the one that was throwing and landing the punches. So you can't just deny a guy who's doing more and the other guy's not doing enough. And I gave the 12th round to Gonzalez. I thought he won the 12th. All 3 judges gave Roma Gonzalez the 12th round, so we all agreed there. But my final tally was 7-5 for Sigurd Cat, 114-112. The knockdown in the 1st round wasn't really a factor because the referee took a point away from Sigurd Cat for the headbutting. So Gonzalez got that point back, but there was one round that you really could have gave to Gonzalez. It was the 4th, but it was a very difficult round to score, very close round. Could have gave it to both guys. In my opinion, the best you can do for Roman Gonzalez is a draw, but I don't feel he did enough to win the fight. Sigurd Cat, after the fight was over, you could tell he felt he won the fight. You could tell by his body language he felt he did enough, and he had every right to feel that way. He put in a great performance. He took some murderous combinations, got hurt, caught a second win, and came back, and he was just a little too big at times for Roman. He was bullying him to the ropes. Roman really couldn't put a dent in him in terms of damage. I mean, Sigurd Cat didn't have much damage on his face, but he really got lit up in those 5th and 6th rounds. But he came back and he won a series of rounds after that. And Roman, he just fell off in the second half. Maybe he got winded. Maybe he just didn't have enough in the tank to really put his foot on the gas pedal to try to get a definitive victory over this Thailand guy. It was a tough fight. Knew it would be a tough fight. It was a close, very close fight that really could have been a draw. I really can't say Roman deserved to get his hand raised, but since he's the champion and since he's the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter, or was, maybe he could have gotten the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he could have gotten the nod since he's at that political position. Somehow Quadras gets one of the biggest gifts I've ever seen, but Roman ends up losing a fair decision, though, in my opinion. It was fair. Me and the judges disagreed on the rounds, but overall, we still had the same score. 114-112 for Sigurd Cat, and it pains me to say it, man, but I can only see a draw for Roman Gonzalez. We could do a rematch, but Roman, I don't know, this weight is just a little too much for him. He can't really knock these guys out. He's always in tough fights now, and I don't know. I don't even know if that's the right move for Gonzalez's career. Another grueling, tough fight with this strong Thai guy who doesn't stop coming and show great conditioning in the fight. His conditioning was crazy. So Gonzalez's team needs to think it over. Is the rematch even worth it? Another grueling battle that will take a toll on Gonzalez's body in his prime. I'd rather see what's the biggest option out there for Gonzalez. It was a very close fight. Could have been a draw. But either that or Sigurd Cat getting his hand raised. I thought he did enough in terms of the amount of punches he landed. From what I saw in the fight, I'm not going by punch stats, so don't bring up punch stats. I did not see. I mean, Gonzalez had a few big rounds, which may have influenced the punch stat numbers. But I didn't see Gonzalez landing over 400 punches. Maybe he had a couple of big fucking rounds though. Maybe he landed like 60, 70 punches in those rounds. The fifth, sixth rounds, he really lit up Cigarette Cap. So, but I'm not a punch stat guy. I don't go by that. I don't give a shit about punch stats. They're irrelevant to me. I go by what I see in the fight, and what I saw was a very close, grueling battle that could have been a draw. But Gonzalez, he needs to see what's out there. Is it in the best interest of him to fight this guy again, who gave him a really tough fight? Should he fight Inu? Should he fight Quadras again? I don't need to see that fight again, though. I thought Quadras just got schooled by Carmona. So we'll see what's out there for Roman. His manager and his team are stating they want a rematch. They felt they got the decision. Very close. Not a robbery, though. The only robbery that took place on the Golovkin-Jacobs card was Carmona Quadras. But y'all let me know what y'all think. How'd you score this fight? The judges overall, they scored it as accurately as possible. I had the same score, just the rounds we disagreed, but the same score. But y'all let me know what y'all think about these two fights. How'd you had it scored? And was Quadras Carmona, was that fight not a downright criminal what just happened? I couldn't believe what I just saw. I just saw somebody just get totally screwed over with a well-earned victory. This is Boxing Truth. I'm out.